All right, so I don't really have a spreadsheet. I tried one at one point, but I never kept up with it, and so it's pretty outdated. But this rack here is probably my primary rack. So I've got my Solon Lassouf flute with it's got its mother of pearl end cap, and it's 4 keys. So just like the basic, like an E flat, F natural, what is that, G sharp, I guess, G sharp, and then a B natural, or B sharp, B flat. I forget what key that is. I hardly use the keys, and I don't play this flute as much as I should because I'm like the wood, just the maintenance. I'm always worried about getting stuff in it and having it end up cracking. So it's arguably my best sounding flute, but it's the one that makes me the most nervous. So I end up usually taking my Carbony Low D with me because it's the shortest of the D flutes that I have, and plays pretty nicely, and it's got a nice texture to the tone. It's probably a cut. It's a step under the Lassouf and possibly even the Gary Summers that I have, but it just like it fits me well. So then I got my Copeland Low D and MK Pro Low D. I've got a Goldie Low D. The way I have this organized is like the main keys are on the front, and then I've got like secondary keys in the back. So I've got an E flat Dante up here, and then Burke soprano D. This is my Carbony leading tone D. It's the older model with the much breathier character. Then I've got a Burke C wide bore in brass, and then my Rayburn, which is the only Rayburn that I haven't sold. It's the only one that I really liked. Just very interesting, unique character about this one in particular. Just a big, like, earthy sound. And then my Carbony A. The only thing that I'm starting to not like about this one is it feels like it's a little flat. It's a little flat on the bell note, and I can't quite, like, it's fun to play. I love the tone. The flatness there has started to bother me a little bit, and this is one of the older heads, but so it's not necessarily what you would have. So then I got the Dante G, Alto G, and then I've got these are probably my 2 favorite Carbony whistles. I've got my F and my E, and then back here I've got the G, and it's the same bore size, same head dimensions basically. But this was the head that came with my first Carbony whistle I ever got, which was my Low E. And I had a standard bore Carbony Mezzo G from Rob, and didn't really, I didn't like it. The sound was very small for me. Like, I felt like it needed to be a larger bore to get more fullness. It played more like a high whistle. So it was good, but it didn't quite suit me. So I asked him if he could swap it out for a wide bore model that had the same bore as the E and F whistles. So he sent me one with the current head as of a few years ago. And the current head is different from these, and I didn't like it. It had too much, it was too air hungry. Like, it had a big full sound, but it was kind of like getting to be kind of like a Shaw whistle, where it just sucked the air out of your lungs, and I didn't like it. So I had this Low F whistle that the head I really liked how balanced it was, this T4-1RA, and so I asked him if he could send me, if he had one of those heads, and he could send me another one. So he got this one and sent it to me, and it's perfect. It's like these two are like almost identical twins to each other. But when I put it on the G, it didn't quite work as well as it did on the other whistles. So I ended up swapping the Low E head. I put that on my G. It's got a slightly softer, slightly less defined, less crisp characteristic, but it enhanced, I felt like it enhanced the Low E. So this is the setup I ended up with, and probably the Low F and Low E are my 2 favorite Carbony whistles. Just the way they handle, like, tactile, everything, the back pressure, it's very ideal for my playing preferences. And I'm not as enamored with the tone as I am on some of the other carbony whistles, but every time I play them, people think they're very pleasant. So even when I was trying to figure out which F whistle to take, and I played this one against my Chieftain V3F, almost everyone was picking the carbony. So people like the tone, and it's got a very like open, woodsy, very unique tone. So it grows on me, but they're excellent whistles. So if you end up getting one and you don't like the head, you might ask Rob for one of these older heads to see if. But as far as, for all I know, he may have changed his design again, and it may be even better than what I've got. So, and I've got my carbony F flute and like my low D flute. So the F flute is like super small and light and pretty fun to play. It doesn't have quite as, it has more of a harsher tone than my low D. The thickness of the low D and the weight of it, I think, kind of softens the edges. But this one's just fun, like as a backpacking flute. So so in the back I've got my Reviol low E flat, which is my favorite of the Reviols, my favorite E flat whistle. So I keep it there. And then I've got a Goldfinch F sharp. I've got a Dante F sharp. And then there's my G, and above that I've got the Dante A, which is one of my favorites, probably second. It probably plays better in tune than the carbony, but I like the tone of the carbony, so these are probably interchangeable. And I got a Dante A flat, and then a Clover B natural, and then a Freeman B natural, and then this is a Pablo Asturias D flat, because I was just filling in some keys, and it's got a really cool character to the tone. And then I got my Carbony C and a Killarney D. There's just like some miscellaneous D whistles up here. It's a Timothy Potter D, and a McManus Ebonite D. And then up here is like a Walt Sweet Delrin. I don't know if that's the Black Pearl model, but it came with a fife head and a whistle head, and I don't like the fife head all that much, but I think it's good practice. Sometimes I'll mess with it. And the whistle part is okay. I played another one that's in Blackwood that was better, I think. So, and over here I've got my Onyx Delrin by Walt Sweet. It's got such a cool characteristic tone, but something about the tuning I don't get along with it. So I don't play that one all that often. And this, but I keep it. I'm keeping it because it's such a unique whistle. And then this is my Dante collapsible whistle, which it's another one I don't play, but it's mainly because I'm worried that it's going to wear out and the joints will get loose or it'll get dented or something. But it's super lightweight, very thin walled, collapses down to the size of about a high D. And so that's another one that's kind of a specimen. It's got a really nice tone to it as well, but a little bit compressed, a little bit smaller than I'd want. So it's a quieter whistle, but almost a tapered bore. I mean, it is a tapered bore because the sections, but it gives it kind of almost a sweetness to it, I think, that the standard bore didn't have when I had the standard bore, which I did sell the standard bore version of the Dante. Then Alba Low E. And this is a Chieftain OS, old style model, probably early 2000s, late 90s. Pretty good. And this one was in really good condition. Then this one is a V3. It's my favorite of the Chieftain whistles that I have. I just like it's big and full. This is my 2007 model. I've got another one that I don't like as much. It's in my closet. That's tunable, but just doesn't quite have the punch. This is a Dante Low F. I think the Low F and the Low D were both starting to get a little bit soft on the ornamentation. So I didn't like it as much as I like the alto keys. But still good. And it's got a really nice tone as well. Then I've got a Burke Piper, which Michael Burke messaged me and let me know that he's probably, this one I think is a 2000, let's see, what is it, 2000 It's a 2007. So he says of all those models, the F is probably his best whistle, and also the one he's improved the most. So this one, like if I'm doing like a whatever this fingering is, and I'm cutting on the second octave, it tends to break weird, and he says he thinks he's fixed that. So I've been debating whether to reach out to him because he offered me a pretty good price on it. I've thought about maybe, going ahead and ordering another F just to see what the difference is. Then this is a Viper. Again, this one is a 2006, so it is like, he said that it was the first year that he did the Viper, so this is like a first generation Viper. I like it. I like the way it plays. I don't have any major complaints about it, so I'm not. And he said this one didn't improve as much as the F did. So this is Goldie Low F. This is one I got from. It's an Alex Zhang, and it's like a Goldie style thing. He has another head for it that's down there, and it plays pretty well. It's very nicely machined, but the head is plastic, so it's kind of like I don't play very often, but then this Carbony Low D. Again, the main difference that I feel like I think this is the most current model of Low D that he has. There's some characteristics. It really does play somewhat similarly to my Carbony, my Copeland, more so than most of the other Carbony whistles that I have. But it doesn't handle as well as these two, as the Low F and the Low E. It actually suffers a little bit from the same issue that I have with this Low F, which is when you're cutting in that middle, it tends to get a little bit rough. And that's really, it's a little bit quirkier, which I feel like when you're pushing the boundaries of whistle design, sometimes that happens. Like you're sacrificing ease of playability, like a nice, even, response throughout the range. You're sacrificing that for like a little bit of extra performance. Like if you have a sports car, like some people, try to drive sports cars, and in the right hands, they can be pushed and, be amazing. But most people should drive a minivan because they just are more reliable. They respond better. They're more comfortable. So that's kind of how I feel like this is getting into the sports car territory a little bit with how it plays. Because I feel like sometimes I can figure this out if I was just more adequate as a player, if that makes sense. So it's not quite as easy to play as some of the others. But every time I picked it up and played it, every time I think, I really like what he's done with the tone. My first Low D that I traded for this one, I was never happy with it. Very small sound, took a lot of air, and I kept it because I thought, well, maybe Rob will update what he's doing, and I ended up making a big complaining video about it at one point about how much I didn't like the Low D, and before I posted it, I sent it to him. I was like, I'll just send this to Rob, and he was like, oh, I fixed all that. So when he gave that back to me, he really has fixed a lot of my complaints. Much bigger sound, similar air consumption, but it's got a tone I can push, and I enjoy playing it now. So I feel like it's almost as good as the E and the F. It just, the handling on it's not quite there, but the tone, I like the tone better. So it's kind of a trade-off. Then I've got these, so Low F or Low D Shaw, which I got. This is one of the last Low Ds he made before he passed away. Got it from his wife. Like, I started emailing her, and right before her husband was in the hospital, and then she shipped this to me, and before he even got to me, he had passed away. So, and this is an F that I got, and I've messed with the, tried to close down the windways a little bit on these to make them less air hungry. And then a high D that I got from Ed Gilkinson. He sent that to me. He sent me a bunch of whistles at one point for free just because he liked my channel, which was pretty cool. I got to try a lot of cool stuff, including the Rayburn with the maple head. He's the one that sent me that one to try out. So this I've got the Freeman G, which is probably my favorite of the Freeman whistles, and the one I'm most likely to play. and then an A, which is one of the least likely for me to play because I don't like how airy this particular model is. One of these days I might ask him for another one, but I figure I'll just hang on to my Freeman whistles until he passes away, and then I will sell them at that point. But until that day, I'll just hang on to them because I don't want to steal sales from him for people that actually want one. But this is a Dixon G, which I really like. It's got a very unique porcelain tone. And then I've got an A flat Goldfinch, which is nice. And then this is a JP Lemire F, and an A, and then my Goldie A, which is a hard blower. So it's a little, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. And then one of my older Freemans, the Mellow Dog D, which was my go-to D for a while. You can see the head started to crack, and I wrapped it with thread. And then this, the one underneath it on the C body is the one I got when he started up his Amazon store and needed reviews. So I went and got another one, and I had a C body, so I swapped it out. So I now got a Mellow Dog D and C, although the design is slightly different on each one of those, and they play slightly different. This is a Thunderbird B flat, which I really like. It's from not the Busker series. It's the Thunderbird preceded the Busker series, Phil Hardy's Chieftain stuff. And it was the only Chieftain Thunderbird that I did not sell. So it was my favorite of the lot. And then the B flat, Dante. And then those are the bodies for the Clover whistles. And then my B flat Carbony, which I really like it with the wall. I feel like it gives it the extra punch that I like from the A, but I don't like the putty wall. But the head on it is a newer, it's like the generation that followed the one I have on the A whistle. So it was a little bit smoother, a little bit easier to handle, but just didn't have the growl of the other one. So with the putty wall, I actually think it really improves it, but I don't like the way the putty wall looks. So this is my Burke Aluminum Pro C, which is an early, I guess is before he had the session bore and the or wide bore models. It's got the same bore as the wide bore, which I thought it was a narrow bore for years until I finally got the wide bore brass C that I've always been wanting, and then found out they're about the same. They play about the same. The brass one has a little bit more power maybe on the bell note, but it just doesn't have the they're very similar. So if I'd known that I already had a wide bore, I probably wouldn't have ordered the other one. But so now I've got two of them. I've got they do have different tones though. The brass definitely has a mellower, the buttery brass tone, versus the aluminum tends to be a little bit more has like a finer grain. It's more resonant, so it's kind of like, but it's lighter, and I don't know, it's just very, very different. They play differently. It's hard to choose between them. Then I got a couple of Dantes, or a couple of Goldfinches behind there. I got the C and the D, which I don't really play those. They're good, but they're just not for me. High whistles really aren't for me. And then same thing, I've got my Dante C, and above it the Dante D. The Dante D is the only one that I really don't like. There's something going on with something in the upper mid range, maybe a similar phenomenon as what's going on with the Burke F, but it doesn't break right sometimes. So I've got other whistles to play. And then above that is a Generation E flat, which is surprisingly amazing. Probably my second favorite Generation whistle, aside from the B flats that are always awesome. And then this square one is one that is by Philip Seedorf. When he started doing some whistle making, he was on the forums for a while and sent me one for free. And it's a very interesting tactile experience to play a square whistle. It's kind of harder to find the holes, and it's a little bulky, but got a good tone. Like it's a upper mid-range whistle, I guess. But it was cool. I've kept it just because it's a neat specimen. And then, so that's that side. And then this rack I built for my bass whistles mainly. So I've made the holes a little bit wider. I wish I had made smaller holes at the top like I did with my others, but I kind of like over here, you can see I narrowed, I have the larger holes on the bottom, and then when you get to the top, to fit the high whistles, I made the diameter smaller. And I wish I'd kind of done this because it gets sort of silly looking at the top. But I've got a Suzy B Bass A. So this is from Japan. It's SZBE. And he says it's pronounced like Suzy B. So I thought I could tell some engineering work went into this. So I saw this on Reverb and I picked it up. And it almost has a Burke-like characteristic to it. But really interesting. His prices are a little high. So I haven't picked up anything else by him, but I think he's still making stuff. But I've always been interested in maybe getting something else from him, but I said he seems like he's a higher end priced whistle maker. And this is my Alba Bass A. I do like the offset on the Suzy B A, and I feel like this Bass A is the only whistle where I've ever thought I wish I had an offset on. This is supposedly an Overton bass B flat, and the bore on it is bigger than even my Alba bass whistles. The hole spacing here is very wide, like it's got a kind of a weird hole pattern. So it's one that I kind of struggle with. I'm getting better at it. I put this tape on here because this is the edge that kept coming unsealed when I was trying to do my Piper's Grip stuff. But it's the only bass B flat whistle that I have, so I have it up on my rack. Then this is a I cannot remember, Vincenzo De Maro bass, it's a B flat flute in Delrin. It's a student model. And I can't play this one very well. Sometimes I can get the hard B flat on the bottom, but usually I can't. So I don't play this one as often. But anyway, I've got the Alba Baritone B, which I probably my favorite of the bass Alba whistles that I bought. And then the C, getting super dusty. Then I've got my Reviol whistles. So I've got my low C, low D flat, low D, and then, E flats over there. So I have my Gary Summers Delrin here. He doesn't make flutes anymore, but this one's probably the nicest Delrin flute. I had someone else play it that knows flutes, and he was like, that's the nicest Delrin flute I've ever played. So I think it is. Someone else had an Olwell. The guy that sold it to me said it was pretty comparable to his Olwell flute. I think the only thing that suffers on this versus my Solon Lassouf is that the very bottom note doesn't have quite as much resonance as the Blackwood does. And I don't know whether that's because of the design or if it's because of the material. I suspect it might actually be an effect of the material kind of absorbing some of the sound waves. But the only thing I don't like about it is all these unnecessary sections that flute makers like to put in, and maybe it's just the size of the lathe that doesn't let them, do bigger sections. But these tend to work themselves loose, and this section doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. It just makes the flute not fit in my backpack as well. So, I mean, I could take it apart because that's what the sections are for, but I don't like taking my flutes apart. I always worry they're going to get loose and they get dust and stuff in the sections, and so I'm a simple man, so that's why I end up using my Carbony more often. So then I've got the small head Reviols, and this is my low E, low F, low G, low A. You can see they're all the same bore size, so the low A ends up being this huge, powerful, blasting A whistle, and then the low E has a really interesting tone. Only issue that I have with the E in particular is it tends to clog, and it's a very, very finicky whistle. So it has an amazing tone, but it's another one that makes me feel like I should be a better player. I need to be a better whistle whisperer in order to get the best out of it, because I feel like I fail a lot. So it's got a great tone. It's fun to mess around with, but I don't think it's the most, it's a Ferrari. It's a Ferrari whistle, and I crash it all the time. So this one up here was one I recently got from Stephen Harrington. He is not doing well and said he's probably not going to be in this world much longer. But he said, I saw him, he has this one. It's got this inscription on the back. It's from his wife, Jackie, from 2019. It was a gift from her. It's Alexander Karavayev whistle, and it's got all this like intricate detail work on it. And I've never tried a Karavayev whistle, and I thought this could be the Jackie. So I told him I'm not taking his wife's name off the whistle. It will be a specimen. It's a named whistle, so like the Stradivarius violin. So this forever is the Jackie. And then this is my Thunderbird Soprano D, and you can see like the bore on it is massive, and so that's why. Oh, actually no, this is my Busker, because I had a Thunderbird Soprano D and I didn't like it. Ended up selling it, but then I regretted it because I just kind of want a specimen that shows this is how loud Soprano Ds can be. And the Busker is actually better than I remember the Thunderbird being. And even though Phil doesn't make them anymore, I just decided I was going to keep this in my collection so that I could have the representative like king of volume. So it actually, I feel like it plays pretty well given the bore size, but it's still not one. It's like when people have chili and it's like super spicy, like it's like they're like, it's got great flavor, but it's just too hot. That's kind of how the Thunderbird is. Like, it's just kind of a harder whistle to play. It takes a lot of air, a lot of like, you can't just relax and play it. You've got to play it with force. So over here is kind of like, it's more like a whistle junkyard. These are a lot of older whistles that I've collected over the years. I think my original Waltons is probably on my desk somewhere. These are a lot of the whistles that I picked up in the initial stages. Not that one. Of my whistle collecting. What some of these are. This is probably one of the original Fado whistles that I had. This is like a practice whistle I picked up at some point. It's got an interesting breathy tone. It's very quiet. Actually, almost none of those are the original whistles I picked up. Oh, here's my Waltons. Yeah. So this is the original, make it focus. This is my whistle that I picked up in Colonial Williamsburg, and it was the first one I ever found. I thought that it was a fife. So when they were playing the fifes and the reenactments in 2002, summer of 2002, I thought those were cool, and I wanted the instrument they were playing, and so I went into the gift shop and I saw these, and I assumed because they were selling them in Colonial Williamsburg, this must have been what they were playing. It was not, and it came with a book, and I played it a little bit on the trip and then got rid of it, or didn't get rid of it, but I just sort of lost track of it. And then years and years later, in 2010, I saw it kicking around, literally like kicking around I kicked it on my garage floor, and I thought, hey, I know where that book is because I just put it on my shelf. And so I decided to learn it. And it's the only instrument that ever really stuck with me. So that's the whistle that started it all. And then there's a Dixon Soprano D. This is I'm cheating. This is a Gene Milligan Delrin. This is another one that Ed Gilkison gave to me. He got another one that had one of the woodenish bodies. It was like a unique diamond wood kind of thing. It was like a composite wood. And that one was very loud with an interesting texture. And then this one just ended up being kind of in a sweet spot for me. So it's really nice, but takes a bit of air. So I think that's why I don't play it as much. This is a Claire, and it's a two-piece whistle, and I just kind of like the way that it looks, and I like the fact that it comes apart, but it's another one I don't take apart ever because, you know, eventually it's gonna get loose and not work anymore. And it's got a soft sound, so like it's got a cheapy tin whistle sound, but it's fairly good, and it's just quiet. This is a Goldie C that I just recently picked up from the same guy that sold me the low F V3. And then And it's okay. I feel like I may end up selling this one just because it doesn't handle as well as some of the other Goldies that I have. And it's an Overton branded one made by Goldie. So it's probably one of his older whistles. And then these are the Mazur C and D whistles that I have. I like them, but again, they're high whistles, so I hardly ever play them. And this is my 1941 clarinet. I can't remember the model number, but it's got a USO or USA mark on it, which indicates that it was actually probably played in World War II. So I was interested in like big band swing music. I've always liked that era, and so I thought I'll play clarinet. I do not know if I will play clarinet. I'm having trouble with I don't like the mouthpiece gets really gross and you got to take it off. It gets filled with spit. it's very complicated with the fingering. So I'm working on I'm deciding whether or not I want to continue doing clarinet. I like the sound, but it may be too complicated of an instrument for me. And then I've got some Fado whistles that someone sent me instead of the sweet tones I was supposed to get. So I had to ask. I've got some, these are like really, really old Nick Metcalf copper whistles that are okay. Some of them, they're a little bit clog prone. So yeah, so that's what I keep in my upstairs pretty much. I've got some other whistles in my closet. Okay, and then this is downstairs, and so I had these cabinets are super fancy in this house, but they had this wine rack holder, and I don't drink wine, so I use them. This is like my whistle storage when I come down, like when I just grab whistles to go. I usually store a few here, so they get out of order, and I arranged them so that I could do stuff. But I got a couple of Generation B flats. This is like probably one of the early ones that started cracking, but I bought a few of them just because I like them. I think that's a Goldfinch E flat, which I don't really like very much, a little bit nasally. And then I've got a Freeman Bluebird E flat, Blackbird E flat. I think this is a Blackbird D. Yeah. Those are really nice. Again, they're high whistles, so I don't play them very much, but the Blackbirds were probably my favorite. The Bluebird I don't play very often. This is the Copeland Soprano D, cost me $1,000. It's stupid, and it is not worth it. I'm keeping it for the design characteristics. I feel like if I could put a wall on it, it gives it more of that Copeland flavor that I like. But people are paying silly money for these. Back when they were, 10 years ago, they were like $500 or $600, which is still a lot for that. And then this is my Freeman F, and then this is the D. Somewhere around here, I've got a Freeman F. This is the narrow bore that he did originally, and I like the tone of this one better than the wider bore one. The wider bore is softer like the A, and it's dry, but this one clogs more often. So that's kind of the problem that I've had with these low whistles that he's made is he's pushing the limits of what you can do with a B flat head. So he's modified them, but it ends up being really quiet, and it wouldn't be bad if it was quiet with a good tone and didn't clog. And the problem is it's quiet with a good tone until it clogs. So again, I keep these just more for like my whistle museum, and to help Jerry out. But the G, the alto G is like the best of the low whistles. Like it just plays, it doesn't clog, and it's great. So more Goldfinch whistles. I think this is an A, and it's got stuff on here because I was messing with the head. This is a G. This is another one of my favorite Goldfinch whistles. This is my V3 F, low F, because it's one that I grab, take with me. This is the low F, and of the Goldfinch whistles, this is one that it has a great tone, but there's something if I was really picky about it, I'd probably have them send me a new one. But since I have a lot of F whistles, I don't. But like the very top, it gets rough. It doesn't go all the way to the top cleanly. But for the most part, they've always been willing to replace things. I just haven't had them replace that one because I don't care enough. But I might actually buy another one someday just to make sure that I get one, because I like F whistles and say these are all the F whistles, and I can compare them across manufacturers because it's usually the best key. But it's the first one that ends up being in this. They have like a small bore, like a very small bore, a medium bore, and a large bore. And so the F is the highest of the small bore, or the large bores. And then the F sharp that I had to make it in the medium bore. And I feel like it works pretty well. So, and I've got this is the low E, which is one of my favorites, plays really well, great tone. And then E flat, low D, and low C. And then Chieftain V5, low D, which is good. I don't like it as much as my V3, but I had this one out just because it's got more back pressure, and I just had it in my car the other day. So then I've got a Dixon low D. This is like a hidden Dixon. It's got a tapered bore. It's like their flute body with a Dixon low whistle head, and I got it thinking it would be like super fancy, and it's okay. I know why it's their secret Dixon. It's not the best whistle in the world. It's got some differences in the tone, but it's not earth-shattering the way that I thought it would be. I was hoping it'd be like a high-end version of this with like everything is just a little better, and it's not that. And this is just a rod of Delrin that will eventually, hopefully, be used when I make my Copeland look-alike whistles. So anyway, I don't know if you sat through all that, but yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, and this is a recorder my kids brought home, and they never played. But yeah, I have a few more whistles probably stashed in my closet. I think I've got some can't think of his name. Doug Tipple flutes. I've got some Tipple flutes. I've got a couple more low whistles from Pablo Asturias from Mexico. I've got a couple of other Goldfinch whistles, and a few, like a Nick Metcalf. I bought a alto A flat from him a few years ago. It's all right. But yeah, that's pretty much my collection.